Section 4.6. Your book calls it formulas, but that's wrong. What's the plural of formula?
Formulae.
Formulae is the plural of formula.
Oh.
Although many places call it formulas now. But so you get an English lesson in this class too. It's not just all about the math.
Formulae.
Yes, formulae is the plural of formula. Formulae. What's a formula?
A mathematical equation or to figure something out.
Okay. 2x minus 5 equals 8.
It's a recipe for the formulas.
Recipe for what? Disaster. I was hoping somebody.
Recipe for an answer.
For finding a solution.
Okay, well,
I'm going to quit talking now.
that's an equation, but we wouldn't usually call that equation a formula.
The formula would be like the y equals mx plus b. Or the
That would be a
y.
That would be a formula. Y equals mx plus b.
Letters without the numbers.
The difference is a formula usually has multiple letters. So this would not be considered, even if I put another x here, this typically would not be considered a
Or
formula.
if I had a who's y though, like 2x minus 8 equals 3y.
Then it would be a formula. Okay, so in general, a formula is an equation with multiple variables. Some examples. You already gave me a good one.
About the
Y equals mx plus b is a good formula.
quadratic equation or whatever.
What's that one?
Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a.
All right, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. In fact, that's called the quadratic formula. So it's certainly a
So that's
Formula.
negative b plus?
plus or minus.
Huh. Okay.
So we'll get to this near the end of the semester. We'll talk about quadratic equations, whatever they are. Quadratic equations end up with two answers. So you have one answer where you go minus b plus all this stuff, and then you get another answer where you go minus b minus all this
I
stuff.
don't like that equation.
Okay, well, you don't have to like it today. Later on, you will learn to like that equation.
Or AC over 2a.
Yep.
I have this thing that I printed out for first school and it has all the formulas on
Oh, has all the formulas
it. A
on
whole
it?
bunch.
It has a lot of formulas on it. All right.
Where'd you put that out?
I don't know, my son figured it.
Well,
All right, so can anybody tell me another formula that you know?
y2 minus y1 or x2 minus x1.
Or slope or formula slope. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's a good formula.
the Pythagorean theorem or whatever.
A plus b equals b plus a. I suppose that's a formula.
What about pi?
What about pi?
Is that a formula?
Pi is not a formula. Pi is a number.
Well, the area for finding a circle could be an equation.
Yeah.
Right? A equals
A equals. What's the formula for area of a circle?
pi times diameter. No, radius.
I times 2 or no, I know.
Apple pies are delicious. Radius times diameter. Pi times.
R squared, that's right. Oh, yes.
Cherry pies are delicious.
No, I was getting them.
So cherry pie delicious. This is the formula for circumference of a circle. Apple pies are too. I don't know where I heard that, but somebody taught me that a long time ago. So there's two formulas: area of a circle, circumference of a circle, which is the distance around. Any other formulas you know?
A squared plus b squared equals c squared?
A squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's the Pythagorean theorem. That works in special kind of triangles.
E equals mc squared.
Length times width times height. What's that?
Perimeter. Or no, sorry.
Volume.
Volume of a
Cube.
Cube.
box. It doesn't have to be a cube.
Right.
So volume of a box is length times width times height. How about area of a rectangle? Length times width. Area of a rectangle. How about perimeter?
L plus L plus W plus W.
Okay, so that's usually written as 2L plus 2W. It's the distance all the way around, L plus W plus W, that was correct. That's the perimeter of a rectangle. Somebody said another one.
At E equals MC squared.
E equals MC squared. That's a very famous formula. What's that one?
Einstein said it.
Einstein said it. That's what E stands for, is Einstein?
Energy.
E stands
Mass
for
times the speed of light squared.
energy is mass times the speed of light squared. That's the formula that led to the creation of the atomic bomb.
Oh,
Einstein's very famous formula. You can create lots of energy with very little mass because the speed of light is a very big number. So you need a small mass multiplied by the speed of light squared. That's a really, really big number. Create lots of energy with a very little mass.
okay, so P equals 2 times length plus 2 times width. That's the perimeter for what? A rectangle?
Perimeter of a rectangle.
A rectangle?
Yep. How about area of a triangle? Okay, so A equals
You're pretty smart. So here, buddy.
A equals 1/2 base height is the formula for area of a triangle. Okay, so there are lots and lots and lots of formulas out there, correct? We could sit here all day and list formulas. Not very exciting. Okay, here's what the sort of things we're going to do with these formulas. Let's say the perimeter of a rectangle is, what do you want your perimeter to be? Give me a number.
I was waiting for
60, how many?
Or 6.
66? 66 feet. If the length is 8 feet, how long is the width? Well, the first thing you need to know is you need to know the formula for perimeter of a rectangle. What's the formula for perimeter of a rectangle?
2L plus 2 times length plus 2 times width.
P is 2L plus 2W. And I've given you a couple numbers. I told you the perimeter is 66. So what letter is that? P. So I'm telling you P. I said the length is 8. What letter is that? L. And what do I want you to do? Plug those numbers in and solve for W. We will have 66 equals 2 times 8 plus 2W. And we want to take that equation and get W all by itself. Well, let's see. 66 is 2 times 8 is 16 plus 2W. How do you solve?
60 minus 66.
Subtract 16. 66 minus 16? 50 is 2W. Divide.
9 by 2.
W is 25. And our units would be feet. Okay, so that's the first sort of thing you're going to see in this section. Is I'm going to give you a formula, and I'm going to give you some letters. I'll give you some values for some of the letters, and I want you to plug in and find whatever's left. All right, let's try another one. How about the area of a triangle is, how big do you want your area to be?
6 feet.
6 square feet. Area always comes in square units, right? Area is how many little squares can you fit in the thing. If the height is 4 feet, how long is the base? Okay, again, you need to know the formula for area of a triangle. Area is
1/2 base height.
1/2 base height. Which letters have I given you?
The area.
Area is 6.
So like on a test, are you going to give us the formula or do we have to know that?
There are certain formulas I would expect you to know.
Okay.
I would expect you to know perimeter of a rectangle, area of a rectangle, area of a triangle, circumference and area of a circle. I would expect you to know those 5. Okay? If I wanted something else, like volume of a cone, I would give you the formula for volume of a cone. I wouldn't expect you to know that one. Okay? Anyway, for this problem, we know A is 6, and we know H is 4. What are you going to do? 1/2 times 4 is 2. So you can simplify the right-hand side. It's just 2b. Divide. B is 3 feet. Questions on that? Okay, the other thing you're going to be asked to do in this section is rearrange formulas. What I mean by that is I might give you A equals length times width. What's that the formula for?
Area of a rectangle.
Area of a rectangle. Area of a rectangle is length times width. And I might say solve for W. What does that mean to say solve for W?
Solve the width.
Figure out the steps.
What will your answer look like when you're done? W equals something. Right now we would say this formula is solved for A. When I say solve for W, I mean I want to have W all by itself on one side and no W's left over on the other side.
W equals A over.
So to solve this one for W, it's pretty easy. We divide. So A over L equals W. Same way we would do it if we had numbers. If we had 2W, to get the W all by itself, we would divide by 2. Okay, how about P equals 2L plus 2W? And we'll solve this one for W too. What steps would you go through to get the W all by itself on one side? All right, let me change the problem a little bit. What if I gave you 6 equals 2 times 5 plus 2W? Think about what you would do if you had numbers in there. Yeah, you wouldn't write 2 times 5, you would write it as 10. All right, so we wouldn't really write it as 2 times 5. You would write it as 10. But then what would you do to get the W all by itself?
Wouldn't you have to move the 10 over to the 6 and combine like terms?
You got to move the 10 over, don't you? If you're trying to get the W all by itself, you get rid of the adding and subtracting stuff. So you would do a minus 10 on both sides. Minus 4 equals 2W,
Then you divide.
and then you would divide. So W is minus 2. The fact that you have a whole bunch of letters over here doesn't really change anything. If you're trying to get this W right here all by itself, first you get rid of any adding or subtracting that you have. So what are we going to get rid of? The 2L. We're going to subtract the 2L, just like we subtracted the 10. The big difference is when I subtract 2L, I can't really combine anything, can I? I'm going to write it as P minus 2L. I'm just subtracting. Negative 2LP, that would be like we were multiplying, but we're not multiplying, we're just subtracting. Equals,
And then once you divide 2 on each side,
And then you
do
do-
P over 2 minus L equals W.
and then you divide both sides by 2. That's exactly right. So my final answer would be P minus 2L over 2.
Couldn't you do P over 2 minus L?
Yes, you could if you wanted to.
So after you do minus 2L and then minus 2L, it's going to be P minus 2W.
Questions on that one?
Would P minus L be acceptable?
P minus L would not be acceptable. Why not?
Not like her.
You're dividing P by 2.
If you're going to divide by 2, you have to divide everything by 2. So an acceptable answer would be W is, I have to take the P and divide it by 2, minus 2L divided by 2. There I can cancel the 2's. That would be an acceptable answer. But you can't just cancel this 2 with that 2 because of this big fraction bar. This big fraction bar says divide everything by 2.
So it is okay if we leave it the other way?
Absolutely. In fact, this is how I would expect you to leave it. That's what I would expect for an answer. But if you gave me P over 2 minus L, I would mark it correct because it is.
So there could be a problem if we decided to do minus 2W.
What do you mean? If you,
Like up top, if you did the minus 2L,
uh-huh.
could I do minus 2W and then do P over, or P minus 2W?
Okay.
You have to do the L by itself?
Yeah, that way.
You could do the minus 2W on both sides. But in a sense, it doesn't really help. Because we're trying to get the W all by itself. So we had W connected with an addition. Now we have the W connected with a subtraction. It really didn't gain us anything. It's not wrong. It just doesn't really help. Other questions? All right, how about A equals 1/2 BH? Solve for H. Any suggestions on what to do?
Divide, or wait.
I like his idea. Multiply everything by 2. Why are you multiplying everything by 2?
Get rid of that fraction.
Get rid of the fraction. Just like we did before. When we had an equation and we had equation with fractions, what was the first thing we always did? Got rid of them. We multiplied by the common denominator. So I'm going to multiply by 2 over here, and I'm going to multiply by 2 over there. 2a is, what do we have on the right-hand side? 1,
1 times B.
just 1bh. The 2's reduce out. That was the whole idea behind multiplying by the 2, was to get rid of that fraction. Now what?
Divide by B.
Divide by b. And then we'll have the h all by itself. H is 2a over b.
You don't add the 1 in?
This one that's right here,
Yeah. Or you just pretend it's not there?
I just pretend it's not.
Anyways?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, well, does it really matter? If you multiply by 1, does it change anything? No. So typically we don't write it. We're lazy. If it doesn't matter, we don't write it. We just leave it right out. Other questions?